And we're live. Welcome to the RG DFS Tournament Takes podcast. I am your host, Chris Kirkwood, Kikdiese. I'm here with my two boys, KillaB, Brett Hartfield, and JSURab, John Sarabian. How's it going?
Doing well. We are doing this show after Thursday Night Football this time around, so just got to see your New England Patriots kind of dust up the Colts, kind of like what we thought was going to happen. So, and I'm coming off kind of a high, seeing the Brewers win one, basically a walk-off hit by Moustakas. So I'm feeling pretty good about myself.
So was that a bet? Were you bet on the
No,
Brewers?
I'm a Wisconsin boy, so I do gotta say, I'm not 100% a huge baseball fan year round. It's just too much time consuming. But, I kind of definitely jumped on their bandwagon later on in the year once I saw that they were going to be playoff.
You know what it is? I love baseball playoffs. Baseball playoffs are the greatest. But, by this time, DFS has, soured me by this point in baseball. I don't even want to watch it anymore because of just grinding it out every single day for so long, but
totally get that too.
Yeah. Anyways,
it's like when you don't have DFS money on the line, in a 2-game baseball slate, we're not going to be putting obviously too many lines.
But our socks, hopefully we'll get Brewers socks then or something.
Yeah. See, we're Boston boys here, Brett. So we had the Patriots. The Red Sox don't even play. So what do they play tomorrow? So tomorrow we can talk about baseball.
Oh, did you see the Yankees? Throw the beer at that A's fan.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just typical. That's just typical Yankee fans. So we know, John and I know all about that.
Listen, Red Sox fans are really great. We're awesome.
I'm sure you're.
No, we're bad, but I'm great. I'm a great fan, but there's a lot of bad Boston fans out there. But it's nowhere compared to New York Yankees. These Yankee fans are the worst.
Let's be honest, like the bottom 5% of each fan base sucks, okay? You see the worst of the worst human beings when you go to a live sporting event.
Go sit in the bleachers of a live sporting event.
And then you add alcohol and just everything is just, you're going to see some weird stuff happen.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk some NFL DFS. Let's try to keep it a little bit quicker. We tend to go a little bit long on these shows, but I think all of us are tired here. So good week for you. JSU, how'd you do?
I did all right. Had some good plays, got on some good calls. I got onto Ezekiel Elliott. Obviously everyone liked Shepard and Boyd, and, I played those guys just because kind of had to. Didn't have as much Ridley. But yeah, all in all, it was a decent week. Could have been better, but
the chalk smash. So it'll be me. I ended up getting a little too cute and going too heavy with Michael Thomas, knowing that people weren't going to be playing Michael Thomas, and that kind of hurt. But other than that, this is a good, interesting week, right? Let's see if this chalk keeps smashing, but we'll see how this goes. But we have a 58-point total in a game. So it's all about the Falcons Steelers. We have to make decisions on this game, and how we play this game and do this game is going to affect everything. So what are you guys thinking about this game in general?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be all about this game, just stacking it different ways. I'm curious to hear your guys' take on James Conner. This is obviously a great spot for James Conner. Probably have questioned his ability, especially in weeks 2 through 4. He's had 3 yards per carry the last 3 games. So I don't know if he's going to be cash game viable for me, but working him in different game stacks already. And then, just everybody's in play. I would say I'm staying away from a guy like Mohamed Sanu. Just feel like he's got a high floor but a low ceiling, so I'd probably stay away from that. But like a James Washington, even fringe guys like that, I think
bingo
100% in play. Vance McDonald's going to be really popular also at tight end. So looking at the fringe guys, and then also still really want to invest a lot into, the studs of Antonio Brown, Juju, and Julio Jones.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, James Conner, let's just real quick, in 4 games, he's had 24 targets in the passing game. So pretty consistent, getting about 6 balls a game targeted at him. And Atlanta's, obviously really bad at covering backs out of the backfield for pass catches. So I'm definitely in on him. I think that people are probably not going to be in on the running backs as much as the receivers in this game. I don't know about you guys, but I think a lot of people are going to try and attack the passing games for both these teams. And I think the running backs, even Freeman, who I think is a good play too, if he can come back to his normal amount of snaps, I like him and Connor together. So, I mean, for me personally, of course, I love this game. I'm going to have some stacks. I love Julio Jones. I think Mohamed Sanu actually is a pretty good play, especially on DraftKings at 4,000. I'm on the other side of that. I think that, playing him and Julio as opposed to like Ridley and Julio or, is kind of a way to differentiate. But yeah, going the running back route or, Mohamed Sanu, I think is a way to differentiate with Julio, obviously.
Yeah, so Connor, just 97 rushing yards on 32 carries after that week 1 game where he went ham. And, the Falcons don't give up much rushing yards because they just give up tons of passing yards to everybody. But so the production's probably going to come from Connor if they get him involved in the passing game, right? Like, I mean, we all know what every single pass catching back has destroyed Atlanta. And so, yeah, it's interesting. He's definitely fallen out of favor. Let's pull up expected ownership here and see where he's landing right now.
Yeah, can I just say, like, Juju Smith-Schuster is, like, in my opinion, has the best matchup out of anyone in this whole game. Guys had 11 red zone targets this year. Antonio Brown's had 3. So, like, just to put that in perspective, I think Antonio Brown's a better wide receiver, and I don't think that's even a question. But it's all about the opportunity, and I think Ben's obviously loves Juju. He's obviously attacking the weaker of the matchups, and I think Juju's definitely going to have the best matchup this week for the aerial attack. So for me personally, and I want to hear what you guys think, but I'm leaning Juju over Antonio Brown. What are you guys doing there?
Yeah, I mean, you do have Atlanta being a weaker defense in the middle, and that's kind of just also how they've always run their defense. But Juju should be mainly on Brian Poole in the slot, whereas Antonio Brown and James Washington will have both Trufant and Alford. So I agree. They did lose another defensive lineman too for Atlanta. So it just seems like they are so injury prone right now. At every level too. They have 2 safeties out, one of the Pro Bowl safeties, and then that linebacker, and then this week with the defensive line. So it's just going to be a spot where I do want to have a lot of Juju. But percentage wise, I still think I'm siding with a little bit more of Antonio Brown than Juju in my tournaments. Even though I know Antonio Brown gets a little bit tougher of a matchup, I just feel like this is a spot where he's gonna go off. So it's kind of more or less a gut feel than anything else.
Yeah. So the Falcons moved Trufant to the slot last week. And it didn't work out very well. He allowed 7 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown. Poole back, so they may abandon that, and with Poole being back now. But either way, it's pretty much a good matchup for Juju here. And I think the Trufant doesn't scare me at all if he's covering, or Alford covering Antonio Brown. I mean, I just think there's so much upside I mean, this probably feels like the game that Antonio Brown finally erupts, but I do agree with you that Juju has the better matchup, but I don't think it even matters against this Falcons defense, personally. I don't know. The best matchup is James Washington. He gets the rookie Isaiah Oliver in coverage, and Oliver has been terrible. It's given up let's see here. He's given up a ton of yardage, and so James Washington, all it takes is really just one big play for him to pay off that salary. So I like that call. What about Austin? What about like the tight ends in this game going? Austin, I know you mentioned Vance McDonald quickly, but Austin Hooper or Vance McDonald?
Yeah, so I think Vance McDonald's going to be somewhat popular. We've seen what he's been doing with his pass routes. Last week, I want to say he ran 31 pass routes out of like somewhere around 40 total pass routes. So when he's out there, he's getting involved in the passing game, which is huge. What is it? Jesse James really hasn't been running routes at all. So and just the last 2 weeks, he's made like just huge plays. So in a game with all the points that are possible here, 58 over under. Just feel like a lot of these guys that, might be smaller percentage. Like on DraftKings, I don't expect him to garner a lot of ownership, but over on FanDuel, where he's 4,600, I think he's going to be really chalky. There's just not a lot to do at tight end. I just feel like when you're going cheap at tight end, you're looking for a touchdown, or else you're going up to like a Kelsey or an Ertz type of play.
Or Kittle.
Yeah, or Kittle. Yeah, or Cook.
Let's give him his due.
Yeah, I mean, Cook, man, the way he's been going off too. You got anybody that's healthy and that's been involved in their offenses, you gotta look at right now for tight ends just because of the way the position is right now.
Yeah, I liked Cook last week. I like Jimmy Graham this week too as well. I think so for my tight ends. Jimmy Graham and Cook, definitely looking at. Although the Chargers do defend the tight end pretty well, but I forgot who's the guy that I think he's injured. So I think the matchup just got a lot better based on.
Are you looking mainly to Jimmy Graham because of all the wide receiver injuries, or what?
Yeah, and he's running. He's running slot routes. He's their slot receiver right now, and I was high on him last week. He got that touchdown, and then he had a bunch of drops and whatnot. And he could have had a much bigger game than he had.
He looked terrible last week.
Yeah, he did look bad. But Aaron Rodgers called out in the media that he needs more Jimmy Graham. Like this is, and so if he can get those drops under control, you know what I mean, and he's running, and he can step up his game a little. I think the opportunity's there in another dome game. Now, I'm a little bit lower on this game in general. That game being the Packers. Sorry, it's late at night here. Lions they're just basically game control right now. All about game control, controlling the clock. People aren't running enough plays, and with Rodgers' lack of mobility, they may go to Aaron Jones a little bit more in this game. So I just think that there's going to be a lot less plays in this game as compared to some of these other games.
Yeah.
I agree with you. There might be a lot of value in that game. Specifically, obviously, you got the Packers wide receiver situation. None of the top 3 wide receivers practiced today, so that's something to keep an eye on. But then even looking over at Detroit, Marvin Jones is going to be one of the chalkier wide receivers at 4,700.
Let's talk about that price, 4,700. That's just ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
Well, I think you got the last 2 weeks. Like if we just look at roster construction, what's really been hitting is cheap wide receivers and expensive running backs. So last week you had Sterling Shepard, Tyler Boyd, Taylor Gabriel. All these cheap wide receivers go off last week, and it just seems like that's the way to be profitable the last few weeks. So I think, again, you're going to see a lot of these, $5K and under guys, Marvin Jones being right up there, garnering the ownership. So, I like it. Definitely like Marvin Jones in cash games, but easily can swerve off them in tournaments.
Yep. Well, let's go back to the running backs in the Falcons game. John, you said you kind of liked Devontae Freeman potentially?
Yeah, so I think that the way to get a piece of this game without, getting a lot of chalky players is to go with the running backs because I feel like they're going to be lower owned. And I think they're set up for really good matchups if Devontae Freeman gets his normal work share, which I'm still not sure of, but they said he looked great in practice. He looked explosive. He's a full go. So I would assume he's going to get his full amount of snaps. And Coleman is kind of nicked up. So we don't know, like, I'm assuming he's going to play too, but maybe he, doesn't play as much as he usually does because he's a little nicked up. I don't know about that, but if he gets his full snap work, I do like him.
And they also have Ito Smith emerging too, so I'm just kind of sour on this whole arrangement. And the fact that the Steelers' run defense has been pretty good. They've only allowed a running back for they've yet to allow a running back for more than 75 yards. So I just think that this game just erupts from the passing aspect. I get it from like a game theory standpoint, but I just don't know how much upside either of these guys have now that they have three actual capable backs there.
Yeah, and I always had like this thing in the back of my head the last couple of years where Devontae Freeman was so much better at home, like in Atlanta. And it was kind of almost somewhat game script, like where when they were ahead, he touched the ball a lot more. I felt like on the road, Tevin Coleman always had way better splits than Freeman on the road. So I always have that in the back of my head. And it's mainly because of the last 2 years. So I'm probably going to be avoiding both the Atlanta backs.
But like James Conner, are you guys in or are you out?
I'm in.
Right? I'm definitely in too. I think you've got to have some decent ownership just based upon game flow and what we know Atlanta gives up, right? I mean, we have not been impressed with James Conner, but it's more or less the situation we're buying into.
But he can catch passes, and that's all we want from a running back against the Falcons.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And you might luck into some goal line touchdowns too as well. So like, there's plenty of upside here. It's a little overboard on the hate for James Conner at this point right now.
Yeah, and we're doing this show on Thursday night. One guy that I would pivot off to as running backs in that same price range is Joe Mixon. Gio Bernard looks like he's not going to go. And I don't know how popular right now Joe Mixon's going to be, but like I'm going to want to have a lot of shares of Mixon versus at home versus Miami as a 6-point favorite.
If I knew he was going to play like his full 90% of snaps, I would lock button Joe Mixon. That's how good of a play he is.
Yeah, I feel like if they
I don't think he will.
Okay, I don't think they trust Mark Walton. So, I mean, we saw what he looked like in the preseason, and like the few attempts that he's got in the last few weeks, it hasn't looked that great.
You think he's fully healthy to go?
I don't know. I'm just going to go based upon reports, but if I feel like he's going to get if just all the beat reporters are positive about it, I'm going to definitely be putting him high percentage in my tournament.
Oh, sure. If there are reports out that they're positive he's going to run even 80% of the snaps, I'd be in on him. Definitely.
All right, let's cover one quick. We'll get to the game I want to get to, which is the Oakland the Chargers game, because that's the second highest total on the board, and we can cover that one. But I just want your thoughts quickly on the Jacksonville Jaguars situation. Dan Bach, if you're listening, chime in and hit us up and tell us who the good plays are. But I mean, are we on board with Bortles? Is it Bortles in cash, Bortles in GPP, Bortles everywhere this week? Is Keelan Cole and Dede? They're both getting a lot of love, but we got the main play is Leonard Fournette being out opens up potentially Yeldon again, unless Corey Grant comes in and steals all that thunder away.
I personally like this game quite a bit. I mean, you got one of the best defenses versus like the top offense, obviously in the league. I have a good percentage of Blake Bortles in cash currently. Kind of worried about that, but it's tough to pair him up with a specific wide receiver, just because none of them really stand out. But I did research the situation. Moncrief leads the 3 in air yards this year. I mean, it's nothing crazy, but if one guy is going to have a huge game based upon targets, I would put my money on Dante Moncrief. So I would be pairing him up with Dante. And the cool part is you obviously get a little bit of a price savings with Moncrief.
So this is great. So when I started building lineups today, the first 3 lineups I made were all GPP lineups, but they were all stacks of this game. This is one of the games I think is going to be a sneakier game stack. I like both sides of it. I am actually, though, you like Dante Moncrief. He's the one guy that I'm leaving off my stacks. I like D.D. Westbrook and Keelan Cole. I like their matchups a little better. D.D. he's been getting peppered with targets, and I think Keelan Cole is the best receiver on the team. And I think talent-wise, I think he's the best receiver there. So for me, it's just I've seen this Chiefs team, get carved up. I think those are the 2 guys that have the best chance of doing it. Blake Bortles is fine. I think the cooler play, though, or the sneakier play is Pat Mahomes.
No doubt about it.
I think, playing Pat Mahomes with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, who I think this is the week where you're going to get Tyreek Hill at 5% ownership. And I think it's, he's one of those guys that he's matchup proof. I don't care who it is. Like, Jalen Ramsey can't run with him. Like, he just can't. No one can. He's the fastest player in the league.
They also move him around quite a bit. So, they put him in the backfield. They'll put him in the slot. They put him all over. So I wouldn't worry too much about it.
But, here's the thing. There's been two wide receivers who've reached 100 yards against the Jags the last 2 years. Both of them had 15-plus targets. It was Odell Beckham and Antonio Brown.
Did they have Pat Mahomes throwing them the ball?
They did not.
All right. So that's my answer. So here's the thing. When you play a really good defense, you're scheming your best players to touch the ball as much as possible. So from a volume standpoint, and the fact that, for me, I think Pat Mahomes right now is playing as good as any quarterback in the league, him and Matt Ryan. So to me, it's I'm going to put my money on the fact that Andy Reid is going to scheme up ways to get Travis Kelce and to get Tyreek Hill the ball in space. To me, it's just I think it's a sneaky play. If everyone's going to be on the Bortles side and they're going to score points, I think the Chiefs have to score points.
Yeah. All right, so back to the other side of the game. I kind of agree with both you guys. Brett, Dante Moncrief, I do like. He actually does have the best matchup, in my opinion, against Orlando Scandrick. And he is also an end zone guy, right? You want touchdown equity with Dante Moncrief. Dede is like the new hot, shiny new toy right now after getting 13 targets in a great matchup. So everybody's all over Dede right now and his air yards and whatnot. But, I also agree with John that Keelan Cole is, the best receiver, I think, on the team. He's kind of the beast of the bunch. So I would lean Keelan. I don't really know what to do, but, my first instinct, I started building with Keelan Cole.
Yeah, I just see, a lot of D.D. Westbrook's, routes have been coming out of the slot. And I just kind of want to avoid Kendall Fuller, especially when we have somewhat 3 similarly talented wide receivers. I just kind of want to avoid Kendall Fuller in the slot. So I'm good with going Keelan Cole and Moncrief, probably stick away from Dede. So I'm going to have plenty of double stacks with Keelan and Moncrief.
And this game may suck too. The Chiefs do play better at home. They always have. It's a tougher place to play at Arrowhead. So, and we've got these splits, right? Everyone's talking about these the Blake Bortles on-off with Leonard Fournette splits. But, that's 5 games, I think. Yeah. So it's not like we're dealing with a big sample here. And
I think it's going to really matter, though, if the Chiefs can put up points in the first half versus Jacksonville. If they can make it a fast game and them putting up points and force Jacksonville to have to pass, then the game, I think, can shoot out. But if the Jacksonville defense is still dominant versus Kansas City. I just feel like this could be obviously a slow game. But yeah, it's one of those things where I can see a shootout happening more times than this game going under.
All right, the game I see erupting the most. I think that obviously the Falcons-Steelers is a great game. I do see a little bit potential for that to underwhelm a little bit, and I think this Oakland Chargers game is just going to go ham regardless. Like, I don't see any way it doesn't. Are you guys, like, feeling this game?
I am. I've started to buy more and more shares. What do you think, John?
Yeah, no, I really like it. Obviously Melvin Gordon is in a smash spot, but I think, we were talking pre-show and Brett was talking about, how cheap the Oakland side is. And I think it's really smart if you like Melvin Gordon. And for me, I love Mike Williams this week as a cheap option. But if you like that side, then I think it's cool, a good idea to bring it back with, the Oakland side, super cheap. Jordy Nelson, I think he's 45 or 4,600 on DraftKings.
45.
He's like 5,600 on FanDuel. Jared Cook, same thing. He's like 47 or 48 on DraftKings and, 59 on FanDuel. So those are some really cheap options and good plays too. Really do prefer Cook and Nelson over Cooper on that side. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I'm going to have a mixture, I think, of all three. The Chargers play a lot of zone D, so I'm not really, too worried about matchups here. I know in this situation, Amari's been shut down before, but I still want to have a decent percentage of him. And, Derek Carr at 5,200, that's really viable in a spot where I think they're going to have to come from behind. They're going to have to pass a lot. I don't see a lot of work out of Marshawn Lynch, and
he's actually surprised me how good he's looked this season.
Well, and they fed him decent targets too. Like he's had at least 2 catches in each game. So yeah, it definitely been surprising when 2 years ago he was out of football.
I don't play him, you know what I mean? But like I've been watching, and like he's definitely looks a lot better than I anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he could get game scripted out in a heartbeat. Basically, this game comes down to as long as Joey Bosa is out, like these games just keep going nuts, So like the Raiders currently ranked 7th in pass attempts. You have to like that. Carr was at least slanging it last week. Amari Cooper looked good last week. He's been getting separation, which is good. Obviously Phillip Rivers is going to sling it. We know that. And Melvin Gordon is going to Melvin Gordon. So there's just so many ways. And like we've got Jordy Nelson. I'm interested if either of you guys like him at all.
Yeah, I definitely like Jordy. Jordy's been getting quite a few, consistent targets too. Still super viable in the red zone, and at only 4,500 on DraftKings. I think a lot of people are looking at other plays in that price range, but for me, he's like right on top as one of the best plays at 4,500.
So he's going to see Desmond King, and so Desmond King has yet to allow an incomplete pass while covering the slot. That sounds pretty.
Would you say that's pretty bad? Or?
That sounds pretty good for Jordy Nelson, no?
Yeah, I would take that for sure.
So that's I'm Keenan Allen. Talk to me, boys.
Yeah, I feel like if I'm going to spend up here for a San Diego guy, I'm going to probably spend most of my stacks with Melvin Gordon coming back. But John, do you have I've been kind of avoiding Chargers pass catchers outside of like little percentages in tournaments. I just feel like a lot of them are hit or miss, and I've been missing basically every single one of them.
Well, here's one thing too is that Melvin Gordon is not just getting rush attempts in the red zone; he's getting a lot of the pass red zone targets. So I think it's hurting a lot of the wide receivers. So I just, for me, I don't want to spend up for 7,800, 8K for a guy when he's not consistently getting, the red zone targets that, he should be getting. At least if I'm paying, 4K for a guy, I don't mind, if he gets one look and he gets a touchdown, that's fine. But if Keenan Allen doesn't get you, 10 catches for 100 yards or, five to six catches for 70 yards and a touchdown, you're sitting, dead in the water right there. So I don't know. I'm not going to do it this week. But I get the ownership play. He's going to be really low owned, but there's just other guys that in that price range I really want to pay for that we really haven't even discussed yet. Like one of my favorite games that I guess maybe no one's talking about, the Seattle versus the Rams.
Yeah,
what do you guys think?
Let me tell you what week it is. It's Chris Kirk week. You heard it here first. This is when the Chris Kirk narrative pays off for Chris Kirkwood. This is it. Like I played Chris Kirk in golf, never worked, but this is the week. I swear to you guys, this is it. And obviously David Johnson. Is that where you were going?
Oh no, I thought
John.
I thought we were talking about the Rams.
We're talking about the Rams versus the
sorry,
Seattle Seahawks.
I got a little too excited about Chris Kirk. I got my mind off.
You got really excited. No, so I was talking more about Russell Wilson at 5,100 on DraftKings. I mean, that's a misprice. I don't know. Russell Wilson at 5,100. I don't know how you don't play that guy at 5,100. And his two best weapons are 5K on DraftKings and 4,600, Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett. I like those guys a lot. But my favorite play is Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is he's in a smash matchup right here. I could see him going for 2 touchdowns. This is my sneaky GPP. I think he's going to be around 5% owned. I think people are going to, take Kupp or Woods, and they'll be higher owned. And I think Cooks is going to be left at lower ownership. And he's just the most talented wide receiver there. And I think they're going to put a ton of points up on Seattle. So I wouldn't mind going with 2 wide receivers. Like me personally, I like Woods and Cooks the most, but you couldn't go wrong with Kupp either.
I can get behind that. I can definitely get behind that. He's got a great matchup. He's going to see Trey Flowers, who's just a rookie.
He's just going to run right by him.
Yep. That's exactly what should happen. But, it comes down to how much Todd Gurley is just running by everybody too. Are you guys interested in paying for Gurley at all?
Not really. I haven't been putting him into a lot of lineups, which is kind of weird, right? Not having a lot of Gurley or Kamara. I'm obviously siding with Gurley in most spots, but cash games for sure, Gurley. But in tournaments, I'd rather pay for one of the more expensive wide receivers that I feel like has a higher ceiling this week than what Gurley would have in this game.
Yeah, Gurley's going to be lower owned. I'm probably not going to pay for him. That I'll be underweight definitely, but he's going to be lower owned for sure than Melvin Gordon.
All right, let's move it on to my sneaky game where I was all excited about with my boy Christian Kirk here.
How do you like this game? This game's got 40 points.
Yeah, this is why it's so sneaky. This is sneaky.
Yeah, and you're not even going to say the best play on the whole board, but go.
Okay, go. Who is it? Josh Rosen?
No. No, go.
There's David Johnson. There's Larry Fitz. I don't want to play your boy Kittle.
No, you don't want to play my boy Kittle?
No. That's the best play on the board?
I mean, that's the best play on
the game.
This game.
It's Christian Kirk. It's no doubt about it.
It's Kittle and Matt Breida. And I'm going to pound this desk again for Matt Breida, and I'm going back there one more time. He got injured, came back in. He looked okay. He had a couple chances for some big runs. He didn't get them, but they were there. The run game for them is awesome. San Francisco's run game is awesome. They're going to keep trying to run the ball down people's throats. Matt Breida is by far the most talented runner. You saw what Arizona and Seattle did to Arizona last week with Mike Davis. Like, who is Mike Davis? Oh, he's the guy who ran for 2 touchdowns and however many yards, 100 yards or whatever it was. Like, this is just such a smash spot for Matt Breida, who I think he's like 3rd in the league in rushing right now. He's in the top 5 in rushing yards right now.
So the only thing I'd be concerned with, John, is he's been kind of hurt the last 2 games. Now, 2 games ago, he had an injury that I thought –
where he looked dead. He looked paralyzed.
I thought he was going to be done. His season was going to be over with. And then they brought him back in. So I was like, okay. And then he also gets hurt last week. So I don't exactly know the situation here.
And he came back in. He came back in.
This man is a warrior. All right?
Tough.
This guy has proven it already. There's this is it. This is the play. This is, you got me. I'm sold. I'm in. Also, I like Alfred Morris's snap counts down to 23 last week. So it's just
okay. You know what I don't like? I don't like that Phoenix. The Cards right now are only 49.5 plays per game. When you can only get 49.5 plays per game, which is ridiculously low. Basically, they're at 49.5. The Dolphins are at 50, and then every other team is over 57.5.
This is the week where one of our 40-point total games
just goes
breaks the slate, all right? And it's Christian Kirk. It's Josh Rosen, who's going to be slinging the ball. David Johnson he didn't get his third down. He's not playing on 3rd downs for some reason, Evan Silva was saying. But
yeah. What is it? He missed a couple blocks, so they're taking him out now on 3rd downs.
It's stupid, but that should change, right? They should be back. But he's starting to get volume again, and he's looking fine when he's out there. And so I'm not. I think David Johnson, his price he's so cheap right now.
Right. It's just the situation. It's really the situation. It's how slow paced their offense is. It's not having confidence in their coaches, getting the ball in David Johnson's hands. I don't know. This is just a puke game to me. Like I'm going to stay away.
This is the game, everybody. You heard it here.
All right, I'm going
to be honest. I only like it because the Chris Kirk narrative. I want it to happen one time.
I'm going to throw in my sneaky game. And that's going to be the Vikings at Philly. You got 2 of the faster teams in the NFL. Also, you have a Viking offense that has the highest pass to rush ratio. And then Philly's been giving up the highest pass to rush ratio. You got a Philly defense that's just so strong on the defensive line, so good against the run. I think
the pass funnel D.
Yes. So I just feel like, okay, this means the Vikings are going to be throwing a ton. We know who they like to get the ball to, Thielen and Diggs. And I don't think Thielen and Diggs are going to be all that popular just because everybody's eyes are going to go to Julio and Antonio when they're spending up. So I really like this stack. Elshon's now back, being healthy. I don't like the matchup, bringing it back with Elshon because Rhodes will be on him. But Aguilar did get, I want to say, like 12 targets last week. Yeah, 12 targets last week. So I don't mind him, but, I'd rather bring it back with like an Ertz. But, yeah, this would be my sneakier shootout call because I can see a lot of passing. And both of the defenses have really, really underperformed this year, especially via the pass. So,
all right, I got one sneaky guy who I know is going off this week, and this is not going to be a popular game. This is Taiwan Taylor week. It has to be. Mariota looked good. The Bills are a wreck. And, Corey Davis, who gets all the market share for the wide receiver work, is going to be, should be shadowed by Tre'Davious White. This sets up perfectly for Taiwan Taylor. Everything's starting to – he's a talented kid. He's done pretty well. He's caught 14 of 18 targets for 132 yards and a touchdown. He's probably best utilized in the slot, but this is just a good spot for him to go off. He's going to be seeing Ryan Lewis or Philip Gaines. So this is the play.
Yeah, I would second Taywan Taylor too. Again, I think there's going to be, a lot of ownership to these under 5K guys just because of what's happened in the last few weeks. But I still have a lot of love Taywan Taylor, if you saw that play in preseason where he took kind of it was like a bubble screen and then he just took it right to the house, but you saw the speed and it's tough to really have surprising speed on an NFL field. But what I saw from him on that specific play, I was just blown away. So yeah, definitely want to have some shares of Taywan for sure.
I will not be third to the Taywan Taylor parade. I'm gonna be on the Bills side. I'm feeling the upset actually, and I think the Bills have a sneaky chance of winning this game. I do not like the Titans in Buffalo. I actually like the Bills defense a lot at 2,300. To be serious right now, I think it's just a really good price. I think their defense isn't that bad. And I don't think Tennessee's offense is that good.
I think I played them in cash week 1, I think, for 2,000, I think. So I have no problem playing the Bills and Bills defense. Yeah. All right. 40 minutes. You guys good? Is this a wrap?
Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty good over here. I'm going to throw in another little tidbit. Looks like we're going to have some decent weather come in this weekend. Just looked at the –
Kevin Roth.
Yeah, just looked at Kevin Ross' initial forecast and a lot of rain, which, obviously we're not too worried about rain. One specific spot, though, Jacksonville at KC, looks to be some really hard downpours. But winds will be pretty light in that game, supposedly, as of now. So just keep an eye on weather. Obviously, keep an eye on injuries. You have the Packers wide receivers probably stand out the most to me, but another spot would be if Joe Mixon is the guy with no Gio Bernard in Cincinnati. I can see myself pivoting a lot to Joe Mixon shares this week.
Is anyone here on Christian McCaffrey? Because we spent this whole time, no one brought him up.
I love him.
Okay, all right, good. I'm not the only one on him. All
right. I kind of like Cam a little bit too. But McCaffrey's my favorite play, and I love the Carolina D.
Okay. I stuck to just talking about game stacks, so yeah, didn't really bring up McCaffrey, but yeah, in a spot where they're coming off a bye week, and he's going to be completely healthy in this game. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. I think we're good to go. That's a wrap. Catch us next week after we win some tournaments. I think this week. I think this is our week for tournaments, boys. Christian Kirk, and then we just Christian Kirk, and then we fill up our lineups from there.
Matt Breida,
Taywan Taylor, and then we just.
Wow, that's how we're starting it off.
And then we somehow jam in like Antonio and Julio.
Well, you got to if you start with your lineup with those.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And boom, that's the nuts right there. I think. All right, it's been fun. We'll do it again next week. This has been the RG DFS NFL Tournament Takes podcast, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks.
See you guys.
Yeah.